Welcome back to the Theoretical Art of Not Giving a Damn. I'm Ash, your host, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today is story time after hours. So grab your snacks and your popcorn and let's dive into this topic. Okay, so today I am going to be telling a story basically about my history with my mental health. Like I was saying, this is after hours. So after hours story times is a lot more comfortable. You can chill out, get in your sheets, eat your snacks, and just ride with me on this journey through these story times. So today I want to dive into the topic about mental health and basically just not giving a damn about what people say about like your mental health struggles and insecurity surrounding mental health disorders. So, where do I even start? So, when I was in high school, around my senior year, getting ready to graduate, it was COVID. We were stuck at home. All of our classes were on Zoom. I couldn't leave the house. So, I was having a hard time at home, just adjusting to being in the house all the time and with my family, not at school with my friends, with my boyfriend. It was just a hard time for everyone at that time. But I started to experience a lot of issues as far as my mental health. I just became like really depressed, having a hard time getting out of bed. I wouldn't eat all day. I was just sad all the time, crying all the time, having lots of panic attacks. Earlier in middle school, when I was much younger, I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder. And this isn't something to get mixed up with just like the regular anxiety you have, when you're getting ready to, I don't know, have a concert, go on stage, or give a speech. Just this isn't just a regular like shyness or anxiety that you have, or like those butterflies in your stomach. Anxiety disorder is a lot different. You are constantly on the edge, constantly overthinking. It comes with a lot, honestly. Like I would have panic attacks on a weekly basis. So, came high school, my senior year, my anxiety was just at an all time high. And I was honestly struggling. I was struggling to pass my classes. I was struggling in my relationship with my friends, with my family, with my boyfriend. And I was just having a hard time staying grounded and having a hard time living in reality, I guess. I would kind of just like daydream a lot. I was always zoned out. And I feel like that's also one thing with anxiety that's not talked about a lot. Like you're kind of just zoned out all the time. So I was just always zoned out, not really paying attention to what's going on. Even now, trying to remember some of these memories is hard because I was zoned out all the time. I wasn't really present in what was going on around me. Of course, it started to raise some flags with my friends and family. They're all thinking like, what's wrong with Ash? Why is she acting like this? She's acting like a zombie. Like they would describe me as like an empty shell with no spirit, no soul, just no personality. I was just like an empty body, just kind of just sitting there. Wouldn't really say much, barely talked, wouldn't eat, wouldn't give many reactions, etc. So I became very depressed. I started to have suicidal thoughts. And that's a serious topic that I won't dive too much into. But I was having suicidal thoughts, and that is when I finally went to go see a doctor about getting a therapist. So I started in therapy about a month later. Um, I, I really didn't see too many changes. I mean, I thought it was a little better talking about what was going on, how I was feeling, um, just kind of managing the stress, I guess. But I really didn't feel much of a difference. And if I'm being totally honest, it felt like this shift just in my personality and everything about me, my energy, and who I am. And I think what caused me even more to be depressed is because I was not only was I having these emotions, but I was confused on why I was feeling this way. So it made me even more upset because I knew it wasn't who I was and it wasn't something I was used to. But I became so comfortable. I got so comfortable being depressed and being in that sadness. And it just started to confuse me, like I felt like I lost myself, which I'm pretty sure I did. But I had a therapist and I talked to my therapist about these things, but I felt like there wasn't much of a change. And we just ruled it out to be depression and anxiety. I was only 18 at the time, so I just turned an adult. I had just turned 18 when this happened, so we just ruled it out to be depression and anxiety. A few months later, my depression got really bad, but I started to have these episodes where I wasn't sleeping. I was up all night and all day. My mind was racing all the time. I could not stay in one place. I would talk really fast. Like I even have videos of this year when it happened. I was talking really fast. I couldn't focus on one topic. Um, I was it was similar to someone with ADHD, but like times a thousand. Um, I had like a really bad shopping addiction. Like I would spend my money, like any money that I had or any money that I made from working, I would spend it as soon as I got my check. It was gone. I was always out with my friends or by myself. I was just out all night, all hours until like 6 a.m. And I would not sleep. And I wouldn't sleep for days. And then I'll kind of just crash and go back into this depressive episode. And what it looked like from the outside, from my family's point of view and my friends, it looked like I was on an energy drink or on hardcore drugs. And I wasn't, but it seemed like it. But I was having these episodes and they would happen almost every week or so, and I would crash and I would get back up again, and I was going and going and going for days. I wasn't sleeping. Um, I was talking really fast. My mind was racing. I was all over the place for days. And I would crash, have these depressive episodes where I was in bed. I wasn't eating. I was sleeping all day. Wasn't talking to anyone. Then I'd get back up and it would kind of repeat itself until it got really bad to a point, I started losing lots of weight. Um, it got to a point to where like it seriously concerned my family members. So I went to a mental hospital. I stayed in a mental hospital for about 2 weeks, and there I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Okay, so I will give you my definition of what bipolar disorder is, but feel free to look this up on the internet. On Google, you should be able to find an answer. But basically, bipolar disorder is extreme highs and lows in a series of episodes. So, an example of that, when I was talking about when I was feeling extremely depressed, not eating in bed all the time, and how it was unlike me, and my family members noticed. those were my extreme lows. So they're like extreme depressive episodes when I was going all the time and my mind was racing. I was spending lots of money. I wasn't sleeping. And I was just going all the time for days, and then I would crash. Those were extreme highs, and it's called mania. That's also something you can kind of look up on the internet, do your research on. But some people describe it as ADHD times 1,000, ADHD on drugs. So while I was in the mental hospital, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, like I was saying, and I was given medication. While I was on this medication, I tested out a couple of medications actually. So the first one, I did not like it, made me really tired. I started to have suicidal thoughts and I started to have like an adverse effect. I started to feel a lot worse than I should have. Then I tried another medication and things got a lot better. So I was sent home. When I got home, it felt like everything changed. It felt like there were so many eyes on me. It's like before, you know, when you're depressed and you're just you lock yourself in your room where you're not eating and you know like you're just trapped in your head. It doesn't feel like that many eyes are on you. You're not really worried about everyone else and you just don't really care, you know, like you're just depressed. You just lock yourself in your room, like you don't care about what's going on outside of your room, outside of those doors. But once I got out of the hospital, it felt like everyone's eyes was on me and everyone was kind of watching my every move. It got to a point where even my parents didn't want me to have my door on my bedroom. Like they wanted to take the door off of my bedroom so that they could watch me. And I felt like I had no privacy. And it made me feel like I didn't even have room to be depressed. Which can be good, but also can be bad at the same time, you know. But it felt like the dynamic in my friendships had changed and the dynamic in my relationships changed. I felt like everyone was just constantly watching me. Everyone was constantly watching to see if I was going to break, if I was going to shatter at some point, if I was going to have another breakdown, if I was going to have a panic attack, if my medication would stop working, if I would do something to myself. Yeah, so it felt really different. I feel like having bipolar disorder, people have lots of negative opinions about having that disorder, having that mental disorder. Even in the past, you would see in movies how they would portray people with bipolar disorder as crazy and unstable and mentally insane, or they would view them as people who just don't have their life together, people who are all over the place. And don't get me wrong, there are people with bipolar disorder that don't have their life together and are all over the place. But what I'm saying is, bipolar disorder alone does have a stigma to it, unfortunately. And I felt like as soon as I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, people's view of me changed. People saw me as broken. People saw me as unstable and saw me as someone who could not take care of themselves. And they were scared to be around me. They felt like they had to walk on glass around me. Like I would just break any moment or I would pop off on them at any moment or even disappear. But that wasn't true, you know. Of course, I had my own struggles with my mental disorder, as far as like my depression and my mania, but there's a stigma that comes with bipolar disorder that I feel like isn't true. I feel like bipolar disorder isn't portrayed as it really is in media most of the times. And that it is only shown from a negative point of view, which is not true. After going back to school, after everything happened, like there were some people that spread a lot of rumors about me about being bipolar. And I kind of thought it was funny because but like a lot of people used to say in school, "Oh girl, I'm bipolar. I pop off on anyone," or "I'm bipolar. I got anger issues," not really knowing what bipolar means, or they would kind of just throw that word around to anyone saying, "Oh, they're bipolar. Her mood's always changing," things like that. And it was weird because some people, it was like they would claim on this mental disorder, not really knowing what exactly it was, or people would just say bipolar as something that switches up often, when in reality, that's not what it is or what it looks like. It doesn't just look like anger issues or one day you're sad, one day you're mad, one day you're happy. It's not exactly what it looks like. But when I went back to school, it was weird because I just received so much attention, especially from the wrong crowds of people. I don't know, like there were some people who thought it was really cool for some reason. They thought, "Oh, you're bipolar, like that's kind of live," which I thought was weird. But and then there were some people, especially my friends, like I was saying, they were kind of scared to be around me. They didn't really know how to react to it. They had their own opinions about it, and majority of it was negative. They didn't know if I could be a friend to them if I was bipolar. And at the time, I wouldn't say I was the best friend. I could have been a better friend for sure. But a lot of their worries was less of how I was acting towards them, more of my mental disorder affecting me in the future and possibly affecting them, if that makes sense. So they had a lot of negative opinions about it, and so did my family. And I felt like anytime I was passionate about something, anytime I spoke my mind, anytime I felt down or I had regular emotions, regular conversations that any other person would have, my bipolar disorder was constantly brought up. If I said, "Oh, I'm excited to go to Slitterbond," someone would say, "Girl, you're just manic." If I said, "Oh, I'm not really feeling it today, I'm kind of feeling sad today," "Oh, you must be depressed because you're bipolar." Things like that. It was constantly thrown in my face. Even now, it's constantly thrown in my face. Anytime I have just a regular emotion that I feel anyone in the world has, whether you have a mental disorder or not, it's thrown in my face on timely basis. But there were a couple things I had to do in order to manage people's opinions not getting to me, manage my emotions towards it. And I do want to go over those things: managing a mental disorder, managing people's opinions, and how to not let it affect you. Basically, how to not give a damn. So, before I dive into the topic of different tools and things that you can do to manage your mental health disorder, or if you have a mental disorder, or talking about the tools I did to help manage my mental health disorder, and how I basically stopped giving a damn about what people said and thought about me and my disorder. I do just want to say, if you are ever feeling like you are depressed or you're having suicidal thoughts to where you feel like you seriously need help, please seek help. One thing I can say is, during those years when I struggled before being diagnosed with the mental health disorder, a lot of times I just sat in my room in silence and in tears. And I just I hoped and prayed someone walked in my room when I was having those suicidal moments. And I just want to say, try your best to push yourself to speak to someone, even if it's a friend, a family member, a loved one, whoever you feel like you can talk to. If it's your doctor, someone, speak to someone, speak to a mental health professional and seek help. If you are ever feeling like you do have symptoms of having depression, ADHD, anxiety, an eating disorder, even bipolar disorder, mentalhealthnational.org does offer a mental health screening test. Basically, it's a free test, it's private, it's anonymous, and you can take this screening just to see if any of your symptoms match up with any of these disorders, if it is something that you do need to bring up with a professional. Okay, so diving back into the topic, here is a list of different tools and things I would do to manage my mental health disorder. You can use this to manage any mental health disorder you may have, or just mental health in general. If you feel like you're depressed, you're having anxiety, whatever the case may be, I feel like this is a pretty good list to follow by. This is what helped me just feel better overall, honestly. So, starting off with number one, therapy. I know that many people do not like therapy. Some people do not feel comfortable talking to other people, but I really do recommend speaking to a professional, even if that's a psychiatrist, a counselor, therapist, whatever you feel comfortable with. If it's a spiritual guidance counselor or a pastor at your church, whatever you feel comfortable with, I do think it is best to speak with a professional, especially if it is something as serious as what I was experiencing, like bipolar disorder. It is hard for you to heal from anything or to get through any hard times or a difficult mental disorder like bipolar disorder if you are not speaking with a professional who knows what they're doing. So I really do recommend getting professional support. Number two, I would say using apps. So some of my favorite apps was Headspace. It is an app that I recommend. On there, you can do meditation, and it provides lots of mindfulness exercises that I feel like is extremely helpful in grounding yourself and guiding yourself through some of those panic attacks or any like anxiety issues, or even if you have sleepless nights or if you feel like you're just overthinking or very emotional at any time. I feel like Headspace is a pretty good app for that. Another tool I would say to use are support groups. Me personally, I'm spiritual, so I am in lots of spiritual groups with other women who are spiritual and practice some of the same beliefs that I do. If you're religious, if you're Catholic, Christian, Muslim, whatever it may be, maybe going to your church or whatever it is, and joining groups there, people who have the same mindset that you do, people who can support you through that time of hardship, and people who can give you that comfort that you do need. And I do recommend like in-person groups or groups online, like on websites or whatever it may be, and communities that may experience some of the same issues that you do. I feel like having that community who is going through the same thing is so important, because you feel like you can have someone you can talk to who understands where you're coming from and doesn't look at you like you're crazy. Another tool I would say is journaling. I felt like through those years when I was really struggling to understand how my mind was working the way it was and why it was working the way it was, the best thing that I could do was journal, because I had such a hard time of understanding my moods and my thoughts. So I would just kind of journal it down. And when I felt calm enough and when I was ready, I would go back into the journal. I would read it and try and understand what I was going through in that moment, what I was thinking in the moment. I feel like tracking your mood is a really good tool to understand yourself a lot better, understand your feelings, your triggers, identify your patterns. I feel like it's a really good tool and it's very helpful, and it helps you grow as a person mentally and emotionally. I would also say a gratitude journal. That is also something that I would practice a lot. That's something I still practice till this day, especially with having suicidal thoughts. I had to remind myself all the things that I'm thankful for. Every day when I wake up, I will write in my journal, I'm thankful for waking up this morning. I'm thankful for the roof over my head. I'm thankful for my family, thankful for my friends, thankful for the phone in my hand, the bed that I'm laying on, whatever it was. My gratitude journal just kind of helped me remember why I'm on this earth, why I choose to be here, why I want to stay here, and why I have a purpose here. Another tool I would say to manage is physical activity. So I know that everyone doesn't like exercise, everyone doesn't like going to the gym. I personally, I used to not be a big gym fan, and it is still something I'm still learning to get back into. But I feel like exercise is really good, and there's lots of ways you can practice that, whether it's yoga, just walking, going to the gym, swimming, whatever it may be, just waking up every day, going to walk in your neighborhood. It's not that hard, just like 5 minutes. And I promise you, if you keep telling yourself you can do it, one day you will get out of bed and do it. But that physical activity is really important, especially getting out in the sun, getting those vitamins in that sunshine. Like, it boosts your mood automatically. It boosts your mood automatically. So that is something that I do recommend. And just doing more outdoor activities, spending time in nature. It's calming, it's therapeutic, and it's helpful. Another tool I would say is focusing more on your diet and nutrition, building those healthy relationships with food and eating to stay alive, first of all. But eating a balanced diet, eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, getting those vitamins in, getting those supplements in, and treating yourself and your body like you love it. You know, when you learn to love yourself the right way and you treat yourself the right way, there is nothing that anyone can say to you that will make you think otherwise, or that no one can sit there and tell you that you are unstable, that you are sick, that that your mental disorder makes you who you are. If you know yourself, if you know that you take care of yourself and that you are healthy and that you are happy, there's nothing no one can tell you. That brings me to the end of this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you retained a lot of this information, and I hope this wasn't too boring. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.